All right.
Yes.
So, what does success mean to you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
You threw this. Okay. What does success... What is it? What's the word again? Start all over. Sorry.
What does success mean to you?
What does success mean to me? Oh my God.
Not fucking up our intros.
Is this the intro?
Oh yeah, this is the intro.
This is the intro. Oh shit. The intro's gonna last so long. Oh my God.
Welcome to Crazy Therapeutic Asians, where we talk about mental health and the Asian American community. I am Kent, and I'm here with...
Connie.
Yeah, and guess what? We're on podcast form now.
Yay!
We're doing audio. You know, that way we can do this in pajamas.
Right, so right now I'm wearing my fluffy unicorn unisuit with my Uggs and a beanie. So that's what it's all about.
Those are lies. Not
I
good
will,
people.
though. You don't even understand. I will wear that shit next time.
Fucking do it. It'd be great.
Because then I'll be like, okay, see, I have it.
Yeah, so for those of you who did follow us on YouTube and whatnot, thanks for sticking around while we are troubleshooting all of this. But yeah, today our topic is redefining success. A lot of people have a very specific definition of what success looks like. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, like in my personal experience, I feel like people don't really even know what success means or why they're pursuing certain things that they would deem makes them successful.
I think what happens is that we get a very narrow view of success young, right?
Yeah.
Somebody taught it to us. We see it on TV or whatever, right? And then as you get older, your world gets bigger, but your focus on success is still so narrow.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the biggest like reality check. It's like, oh shit, I don't know what success is.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was this. Mm-hmm.
It's like that midlife crisis. I see clients who come in and they're just like at that age where they're like, I'm unhappy. And,
I'm at that age. What are you talking about? You see clients, you see me. And I'm like, I'm at that age, the middle crisis age.
Right? So it's time to buy a Porsche and buy really useless but expensive things.
I have a super young wife. That'll be next, I guess.
That'd be fun. You tried
that? I don't know.
No?
I don't know. I don't think it sounds fun. That'll be
This actually does not sound fun at all.
No.
I
keep on saying no.
You're like, definitely.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I have a child and I don't need more children in my life.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh God, that'd be so weird if you were like dating your own child. Like,
that's incest.
Well, not like that.
I'm just gonna tell you, like,
fair.
That's incest.
Someone like your child's age.
So back to
success, right? I think, especially in the Asian American community, growing up, there's a very sort of set expectation of what is expected of you. This weight is placed on education and that kind of success because people come from, war-torn countries or just a really impoverished state where like the parents suffered through it. And I think they have really high hopes to provide their kids sort of this life that is more, I guess, air quotes, American dreams. Mm-hmm. I'm going to provide that to my kid and I want them to achieve all these things so they don't slip back into where we were and have this hard life that...
I think it's like the mix of like, that I survived. I mean, they were in such a situation, my family and my grandparents before them, it's like there was no opportunities. Survival was the opportunity, right? That's it. Survival and having your children grow up to a ripe old age. And then so for my parents, like they struggle so much, it's like, okay, now that we struggle so much, we don't want you to struggle. We want you to succeed and do all these things that we couldn't do.
Is there an objective definition of what success looks like?
Yes, but I think it's individualized and I think it's always changing. Yeah. I'm 25 and this is what I think success is. When you turn 30, success means something else, but you're like, no. I said this means success. It's so hard to shift your gear and look a whole different view on what you want.
Why do we feel like we want to redefine success? Having a very rigid definition of what success is oftentimes is going to lead to a lot of stress or mental health issues. right? There's like high pressure to achieve a very specific ideal of what life should look like, right? And it might be stereotypical, like get an education, get high grades, and then you go to college, and then you get a job after that, or you get married, and then you have kids, and the cycle continues. And that's like a big definition of success. A lot of people are, I feel, forced into this funnel.
Yeah.
Where it's like, even though you might not fit through this, like you're going through it. And I mean, can you just imagine like the amount of stress people would have to go through if they're really being forced to do something like that isn't working for them?
Yeah, I can. First of all, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have been told many times when I grew up, like, you know, what my future success would mean, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but accounting was a big, like, fallback, as in like everybody's like, okay, we want you to be doctor, do this, this, and this. And if you're like, I'm not interested, okay, then accountant.
At least be an accountant.
Right? And
the minimal.
And then I'm going to throw this out there to all the accountants out there. I praise you guys because that's hard
Numbers
shit.
are hard.
Right. I can barely financially budget myself.
I can barely add anymore.
Right? Calculator. But, you know, but the thing is that that's their kind of like, okay, so if you're not going to do that, then just go to accounting. Like, here's a pass.
It has money. It's good, right?
But it has nothing to do with who you are.
No.
Like, too. You're like, but, all right.
Yeah. And, you know, like, we don't want to wipe this as like, you know, these expectations are just universally bad, right?
No.
Like, I think a lot of parents, caregivers and whatnot have this expectation because it's like, it's a safe path for a lot of people, right? And it's sort of like, I hear people say this all the time, like, well, you know, you'll always need a doctor, or this world always needs money.
Right.
And legal trouble's probably always going to be around, so be any one of those and you'll have a job forever.
Like, being a mother, when my kid says, you know, I want to write 5 novels, you know, 5 series novels, sci-fi, then I want to go on Broadway dance, and then I want to run for mayor of New York City. You know, like, those are all exciting. She's not from New York City, side note. But when she says all these things, and then at the end she wants to be a rancher, you know,
interesting.
Right. I there is that line where you're like, I want you to follow your dreams, but I also want you to be able to have skills that you can survive. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to live in my, what happened to my voice? I'm changing. I'm changing.
Podcast puberty right now.
But I don't want you to be living in my basement smoking pot playing video games.
That sounds pretty sweet.
I know. For the person playing video
fair,
right?
Yes.
But I'm going to get old, and I want you, my child, to do things, right? It may not be what I think your things are, but I want you to do something. Does that, and that's so age-apparent, I can imagine.
I mean, but like, I like that it comes from a good place. I mean, I would almost say like at times negligent if a parent just like, do whatever you want. Like, oh, you want to like do a bunch of drugs and do this and that.
Sweet.
Like, go
Right.
do it. Do what, like, no, that is not going to lead to a surviving child.
That's right.
Right? And children are developing,
right?
You know, and our brains don't really get there till like our late 20s. And it's like a parent's job, essentially, to let them know that they're loved, they're cared for, and to help guide them. And, you know, the key word I use there is guide.
Right.
Right? Not shove them into this path. Because if we were left to our own devices, like, I don't know, man, this world would be kind of messed up.
I feel like, and this is something I've been thinking about a while, it's like, for me, I wish that I taught my child about finances at a younger age.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm in a place about success, right? And my mind goes to, you know, just remember, if you take business, it will always be in whatever you love to do. Yeah. Because you have to make
money's everywhere.
Money's everywhere. You have to deal with taxes. You have to do, right? And like me, I'm a slow learner. And I think for our kids, it's like, if you teach them that, then they do these things, whatever they want, and there is that feeling of safety of their success, right? That they have some grounding.
Yeah.
But I feel like, unfortunately, we throw it all at them during college. Like, we're like, okay, now you're going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be a lawyer, and so you're going to be safe, and you'll know how to handle money.
Let's get into the big sort of issues that might come up from like a very rigid view of success. For me, oftentimes what I see the most is I'm saying oftentimes a lot.
Do you often say often?
I do. Oh, I often say often.
Oftenly?
Yeah, oftenly. Totally.
Okay.
I've seen people sort of go through and sort of internalize these expectations. At first, it may be like, oh, my parents are telling me to do this, are telling me to do this. And down the line, even if some people actively reject it, it shows up in different forms,
oh my gosh,
right?
Absolutely.
There's the sort of critical voice you give yourself. You know, like, I want to do this, but you should not do this because this is not what you're supposed to do. It puts a lot of unneeded pressure, I feel, on people to conform to a system that might not always go the way people think.
Right. Absolutely. And I think what's very scary about that, like you said, it's like at the beginning you could go, my parents told me that this is it. But it slowly turns into your own voice.
Yeah.
So little by little, as we get older, we're like, okay, I'm 20 something. I'm an adult now. It's not my parents telling me. Now it's my inner critic telling me I should do this and should do that. Right. And then your discernment of what you're supposed to do, it's such a battle.
Yeah, and all these sort of things coming together oftentimes lead to people who experience depression or like anxiety and
low self-esteem.
Yeah, I've seen people make it through and like get that doctor job and do all these things. Some people are actually very happy about it. They love it and good for them, like I'm glad they're able to do that. But there are some people who make it, but then they find themselves an anxious and depressed person. I mean, I can't even express how many medical students or residents I've seen in my office who are just dying, maybe literally, but at least emotionally, they feel like I am burnt out. The program itself is hard, right?
Oh my gosh.
But then you add on the thing like, did I really want to do this? Or did I sort of just, like a zombie, walk through my life going towards this and realize, oh, I don't really like this, but I've worked so hard to get here.
I feel like that happens to so many people, especially the last year of college. It's like you're at that golden, and then you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Is this, because you're so like, when you start, you're like, this is my major, and it's exciting, right? But when you get towards the end, suddenly you hit that climax of like, now
and it's not what I wanted.
Exactly.
What
is that? What I want. I think this becomes we're finding our authentic self. We have been identified since we were kids by so many other things, right? And rightly so, right? We're learning.
Yeah.
By the time you hit that age, it's like, what do I want? I don't know.
There was no exploration done. The thing is like, what if you do follow this path and you get there? And sort of the goals, the prize, so to speak, like that was promised you is just not there, right? Like, go to college, get a job, you'll have money and you'll be happy. And then you get there and you're like, I'm here, but I'm not happy. That sounds devastating.
Right. And it sounds like forever.
Yeah.
Right? I'll say this, like my supervisor said something to me that I thought was eye-opening, and it probably sounds super logical, but he said, it's like when you go down your path, like a path, you go down this road, and you realize, I hate this path. Because that's when you go down a different path. And then you go to a different path. But it's one of those things, I think what we do is when we go along with the fishes, we stop. We don't turn. We just stay there and we say we're bad people. Yeah. We're not good at this path. Versus looking at there's options, but with blinders on.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's a black and white thing.
Yeah.
It's a pass, no pass. Success or failure, right? It's so binary, and that's part of the rigidity. Now that we kind of know, like, yeah, it's going to cause problems for some people. Like, what do we do then? So what is success? How do we help our kids make it through this world into the life they want without causing all these issues?
So my honest answer... My honest answer is we can just only do what we can only do. And what I mean by that is...
But you might fail.
Might fail. then I fail. What does failure mean to you?
Right? If there's success, there has to be failure, right?
So what is failure to you?
I don't really believe in like the larger concept of like failing. Like there's the sort of like objective look at it. Like if I tried to do this and I didn't achieve it, I technically failed. But even saying that now, it sounds a bit harsh, right?
Yeah, it totally sounds
and
harsh.
It's just like, we think like that all the time though, without even sort of giving it a second thought. Like, I'm going to park this car. If I park it within the parking little lines, I'm a success. But if I don't, I'm a failure.
You should not see me drive.
Right?
I am a mess with parking.
So like, I don't think failure is really like a helpful term. For me, like if we really must use the word failure, it really is just a learning opportunity. If you failed at something, it's not the end of the world. It's just the end of you and that opportunity.
At that moment, too,
at
right?
that moment, right? I mean, and I guess like we're talking generally too, because like if you're in some high stakes kind of job or a situation where, you know, where life and death is in the way, like, yeah, like if you quote fail at something, there could be very dire consequences.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, failure for me, the word, that's a scary word in a Chinese household, I'll tell you that. Failure is, in a way, in my mind, goes to effort, right? So failure, you're a failure. I don't see. I can't see that. Literally, we're too complex as people. But it's like failure to act. Did you act? Is there effort? That I understand. But that doesn't mean, like you said, it's an end all of end all. There's always lessons to be learned. And that's really true.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Not always. Side note.
I know, right?
Right?
But the sentiment.
Just I know, but no. But I'm just saying, like,
I'm maimed now. I can't do nothing.
But that's the thing. It's like you call yourself a failure. You're kind of predicting what you're gonna do.
Yeah, it's like, is it helpful?
No.
And especially among American-speaking Asians, like failure is a very loaded term. It means so much more. It means I've disappointed my parents.
Right.
It means everyone around you might think less of you because you haven't achieved. It means that I may not succeed in life, whatever that means.
But then my mind goes to, it's an inappropriate word, because when you're labeling somebody as a failure, failure isn't the same thing as failing. You could fail a class. It doesn't mean you're a failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what so it's like, okay, you failed science. I'm so disappointed. That's one thing. You failed science, you're a failure.
Right.
Huge, right?
It's huge different. It's
huge different.
And label where one little thing as a failure becomes who you are as an entity.
It's awful.
It's not okay to...
We're both like, no.
No, like, do not label people a failure.
And then we do it to ourselves. Like, that's the thing. It's like, we do that, like, when we fail a class or we fail a grade or a test, we're like, I'm now a failure in everything. Suddenly, when a relationship breaks up, I'm a failure at relationships. You know, it's like, oh my God, that's the harshest thing you could treat.
I failed at this relationship.
It's the harshest thing we could treat ourselves. We are our worst critic.
For some people, they like the word fail. Like, I failed this, so I need to do something better. And like, it's like a motivation almost.
So that's the difference. I think for me, when it comes to the word fail, I failed it because I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Doesn't motivate. That does nothing. Like, okay, well, then you're destined.
Right. Yeah. Like, why do we need to redefine these things? Well, mostly because we want people to find motivation. Right. And like my mantra for a lot of my clients is like, let's get rid of like right or wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just, is it helpful or is it not as helpful?
Right.
Right. And so if we can look at failure and success in that same sort of view, like, is it helpful for someone to label themselves as a failure or to be called a failure or to use that word in sort of whatever context is happening? And if it is helpful in terms of, yes, I like it. Like, if I failed, I can do something about it. That's great. All right. For you, that works, you know? And if your definition of success is me getting all this money and this house equals success, and you truly believe that and you get it and you will feel that, great. have that definition. But for, I would say, the majority of the people I've seen, that doesn't seem to be the case, right? A lot of it is, again, it's the social sort of norm of what that word means. It plays into it.
Yeah. I think the language itself is super powerful in a positive and negative way, but mostly negative, to be honest. Like, it's like when somebody says I'm anxious, we work on using a different language because we're so related to that language. Yeah. So when you say I'm a failure, I failed, I'd like to change that language because it means so much more than what you're really saying. Yeah,
it has a lot of subtext to it.
And it feeds you, right? It keeps on going. And so language of those two words are so heavy, like you said, especially being Asians and Asian Americans, right? It has such pedestal, high idealistic value that none of us can reach.
How can we redefine it so it's not as bad? The way I'm going to suggest going at it is to really just ask the question of why, right? Really look at the why. Why is this considered a failure? Why is this considered a success, right? Interestingly enough, when I ask a lot of parents, like, what do you really want for your kids? Like, I just want them to be happy. And I'm like, they look miserable.
They look unhappy.
Right? And it's just like, oh yeah, but going down this path, eventually
they'll hit
happiness, right? And it sort of treats this happiness, or even, by proxy, success, as this goal, this thing to get and have. When happiness really isn't about that grand picture. Happiness is built up of moments to moments to moments of positive interactions that add up to a life of happiness. For parents, I think a good thing to ask yourself is, like, if that is your goal, like, to have your kid be able to live a comfortable, sort of happy life, is having this title and this job really the thing that's gonna get them happiness? If they're doing what they want in life, isn't that success then? Yeah.
It's not the same definition of yours, but you don't have to live in their shoes, and they don't have to live in yours.
For me personally, like, success really comes down to just being able to live a emotionally authentic life.
I like that. What does that mean? I like it.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, like, I can say it, but it's harder as it is to actually achieve that for myself. But the way I view, like, an emotionally authentic life is, like, I don't think money and, like, achievement and all that is, like, gonna make me happy. Like, for me, it's about being able to live moment by moment and continue growing and continue learning, and just sort of on this never ending process of getting to know myself and other people better. Like, if I can live a life doing that, I would feel like that's a very successful life, right? I
think that's it. You said something that was like, it really resonated. It's that success isn't a goal, it's a journey, right? It's not like we hit success tomorrow and then, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm going to live in the glory.
Exactly.
You're right. It's moment to moment. It's life, living the life.
And if you think about life as that goal-oriented sort of view where you're like, I've achieved it, I'm successful, you're going to get bored because there's no more journey. It's like when you read a long-ass novel
am I gonna do now?
And you finish it and you're like,
oh my gosh.
Now what? I've done this and I feel empty.
I feel empty. Right. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for, kind of thing. It's like
finding your zen, maybe. The balance zone of, this is how much I can work to make me happy, to make me live the life I want to live, to be authentic.
Yeah.
And in order to live this life, I'm gonna need some money to do that.
Right.
Because it's sure of us a lot harder to do what you want to do when you're just worrying about survival.
Right. Absolutely. You got to survive. Then you could be creative.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it comes down to survival is number one.
That's right.
Like,
food.
Frick, if you survived, you've succeeded.
Right. And I've heard of a quote, somebody said, just surviving the day is a success. And I like that, because sometimes our goals are so lofty and so big that we are just pushed to fall or lose, right? And sometimes, everybody has a day where just, you know what, I'm here. That's enough.
It's just like, it's such a future-oriented thing. And it's not very present or mindfully focused.
You're not living in the future, you're living now.
Enjoy the now.
Right.
Enjoying the now isn't like do whatever you want, right? This is going out, taking a bunch of drugs, feeling amazing, and like not going to school or not working and just buying whatever I want. I'm gonna feel great. Oh, hell yeah. Like, I'll love that shit, like to lead that kind of life. But what comes after that? Oh, shit, now you have debt. Reality hits. Addiction, withdrawal, your body is breaking down. People judge you. Like, those things make you happy? Like, for me, no. Those things don't make me happy. Sure, it was a brief moment of pleasure with a whole lot of suffering afterwards, right? It's more about finding the path that will give you the most amount of pleasure. And if that involves taking some pain right now, but increasing your overall sort of pleasure, like, I view that as like a solid way to move through life.
I like that. I think that's something like, if we broke it down even more so, it's like, doing all those things are distractions more than being happy, right? So, going shopping and breaking retail therapy credit like to the wazoo, that gives me that instant satisfaction. But honestly, if I had to really look at it, it's distracting from something that's not going on. It's
someone trying to cope with,
it's
some darker
being
demons.
Happy.
No, it's hiding.
Numbing. Yeah, it's absolutely numbing.
Hiding from the bad isn't the same as
being happy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just not seeing.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So, are we successful people?
I think I'm in the process of being a successful person. I think I've done things. I like my journey so far. I'm not going to lie. I don't love my journey. I mean, sometimes it's shitty, but I like my journey, and I'm learning to be more grateful for it.
Yeah. I think in my eye, I don't know if I believe in becoming a successful person. But I'm definitely willing to say, like, I try to become, like, my definition of a successful person. But I feel like a failure.
So after all that...
Hey, those things are deep-rooted. They don't leave so easily. And I just want people to know it's okay. It's okay to feel like a failure.
But you're not, though,
because I don't really believe in that concept, right?
But then how do you feel it?
Cognitively, I get it, right?
So through your mind, you get it.
Yeah.
But emotionally,
the feelings are there. And that's,
resonates.
That's a skill we teach a lot of clients, right? Like, sometimes you feel certain things, but it doesn't mean that is the case, right?
That's a huge one. Just because you feel it doesn't make it real. Feeling is real. Like, I feel scared.
That's real.
But what you're scared of doesn't make that exactly real.
I feel stupid is very different from saying I am stupid, right? Like, I feel like a failure a lot of the times, and I'm feeling less so as I get on in life, but, like, definitely it's hard not to avoid those feelings, right? Like, is it helpful to think of myself as a failure?
No, and I even say, by definition, not being where you want to be at this place. I'm going to be honest, it's like, well, it's not where you want to be, but maybe it's where you should be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think there's a line where we fight against the river so much sometimes.
Yeah.
And you got different flow, man.
Yeah. And learning to be okay with that.
Yeah. Because we're trying. And I think there's no, kind of trying to look at insight and look at our own behaviors, looking at our own thoughts. That's not failing. I look at you, and you're incredibly insightful. You're incredibly, empathic to your clients, to me, your friends, your family. That's more than a lot of people we see out there.
Right.
I'm not naming names, but I'm just saying it's a lot, right? Yeah. So in that point, I'm like, how can that be considered failing?
Right. It's not so simple. If I were to offer advice to, like, a friend or something, is really to look at what you really want. Right? Success is about you achieving what you as a person want, and not the shoulds and the values of other people that maybe have been forced on you that tell you what success is. What I would tell parents is that, like, hey, if you can see your kid living a life that they're completely happy with, and even if you don't understand it, maybe that's considered success for them. Maybe not for you, not your personal definition, but do you want your child to fulfill your dreams or to fulfill their own?
Right.
It's going to be hard to sort of let them go on paths that you don't understand or that may not be as a sure bet as a lot of the other ones. But if you see your child suffering through all of this, I don't know if that is really a success if they're in that much pain.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make them a failure, but they probably won't feel like they're successful.
Mm-hmm. And it's codependency. Now they're dependent on you to define their success.
Oh, I know.
It's too much.
That doesn't leave.
Yeah.
All right.
Gosh, we're off on a deep introspective thought.
Depressing as hell.
Okay, so
self-care.
Yay! I love it.
All right, so
you got self-care today.
Oh yes, yeah. So self-care.
What do you like? What are you interested in? Recommendations? Tell me.
All right. So for this week for self-care, I am gonna recommend a podcast that my brother sent me, and I just started listening to. It's from 20-Sided Stories Pokemon.
Do you need to know about Pokemon to listen?
I think it definitely would help, but what it basically is like a group of improvisers get together and they play like a pen and paper version of like the Pokemon Game Boy game, specifically focusing on Red and Blue.
Oh my gosh, old school. Is that first generation?
I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. That was, at least when I was growing up in the 90s, that was the one I played.
Pokemon, right.
Right. Yeah, so it's been great. It's just a bunch of people playing a tabletop RPG with like improv in it, and it just like it makes me laugh so hard, and like there's so much nostalgia to it because they used all the music from like their games and whatnot.
Really?
And, like, if you know what they're talking about, it's pretty great.
And how many episodes in are you?
I am on 5 or 6 right now, and like I started last night.
Oh my god,
it's
you love
so
it.
good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And do you have to know the game? I mean,
I guess it helps to know it. Like if you're not a huge Pokemon fan, like I wouldn't. I feel like you might be a little lost. But they do have like a intro podcast where they kind of go overview how the game works and like what Pokemon kind of is. But I think for most people, this is going to be like a nostalgia trip kind of podcast to listen to.
So what if you're an avid Pokemon Go player?
Oh, they probably could enjoy that.
Okay.
Like,
so
Pokemon Go, I literally re-downloaded that yesterday because my brother then convinced me to start playing that.
Oh my gosh.
And now I'm like, I need to go for walks, which I guess can also be self-care.
Yes!
I need a walk.
I'm not even joking. I know people who use Pokemon Go as a way to actually, because it gives you entertainment, you're fun, and it's not...
But I'm like laying in bed and like, God damn it, there are no fucking Pokemon around me.
But if you
and
go
the nearest
outside,
Pokestop is like down the street. I don't want to leave my apartment.
But you know how many people are going there to get that Psyduck? Oh my gosh.
I know.
I love Psyduck.
I'm like, I have like no Pokemon right now. I'm like, I just am like...
What's your favorite Pokemon?
Yes.
Bulbasaur? Pikachu?
Hell yeah. Like, I'm like a stereotype. Like, again, my last name is Chu. So I'm totally going to name a future child Pika. So
you can
they can be Pikachu.
Oh my god.
And they can hate me for life. But...
And then you're going to gotta catch them all. Right? Does he morph?
Man.
Does he morph into Raichu or something like that?
I don't know. If I could keep a Pikachu forever, that'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, that's another episode too.
Yeah.
I love Psyduck.
Really?
Psyduck.
It's such a dumb looking.
I know! I love Psyduck. I know. But anyways, I will listen to it because I love podcasts.
Yes.
Which is why we're making
I know.
Side note. But yeah, I'm interested. I haven't played Pokemon or Pokemon Go in a while, and I'm excited about the movie though. So excited.
Oh, that Ryan Reynolds thingy?
The detective. I am so excited.
I don't know. The CGI weirds me out.
I
and
know.
the Pikachu talking just doesn't seem right.
I love it. I love this nerd stuff. I love it. And I know I love things that people don't love, but I love it and I haven't seen it.
It's disconcerting.
The mime. Oh my gosh. Mime. Anyways.
It looks too scary. Well, let me know how it goes.
I will. After I see it for the third time.
I probably will watch it though.
They have Psyduck in it, so. And definitely they have Pikachu.
I know. That talks.
They all talk.
They're just their names.
But they have inner thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap this one up.
Okay.
All right.
If you enjoyed this episode of Crazy Therapeutic Asians, please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can visit us at ctasians.podbean.com to see our show notes and episode art.
And we are also on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Crazy Therapeutic.
To learn more about Connie, you can visit her website, healinggenerationscounseling.com.
And to learn more about Kent, you can visit therapeutichealingpractices.com.
The theme music is Cartoon Battle Vadodara by Kevin MacLeod.
Nice. Additional sounds and music are from YouTube Creator Studio.
The views and opinions expressed here are just the opinions of two crazy but therapeutic Asian American therapists, and it doesn't represent that of the whole Asian American community or that of the mental health community.
Though we hope you learned something and found our show entertaining, just remember that it's just that. Entertainment. It's definitely not a substitute for seeking out your own personal therapy or mental health services. Defeat the stigma.
No shame in seeking therapy.
Word.